Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host, your friend, your coach. Today, for episode, I believe, 399, or might be even 401. No other than my dear friend, Mr. Hamish Niven from the UK. And we connected almost a year ago, June, July of last year. And he was part of the 5-day challenge back in July. And then he was also part of the one of the alumni of the Profit Podcast Academy in August of last year. And we kept in touch. And finally, the stars aligned for both of us to find the time to do the podcast. And here he is. Fascinating background, fascinating man. And we're going to be unpacking all of that. Just a little bit about him. He's a man that overcame all kind of challenges, addictions, and now he's taking those gifts and sharing them around him. First of all, he's embracing them loud and proud. And now he's in a stage where he can share them even loud and proud around him and around the world. He had to go to first filling his own cup, so to speak. And now that his cup is filling nicely, is in a position to bless others. So I'm really delighted to have you here. Hamish, my brother, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, and what a lovely introduction. Yeah, it's been a journey. I wouldn't change a great deal, but yeah, it's great to be here.
Absolutely. And it's beautiful because we all, when we look at our lives in retrospect, we think, oh, if I had taken this decision, my life would have been so much easier. But you know what? Just like you, I would not change a damn thing
Hmm. No,
because the person you're today is exactly the person you're meant to be. You
yeah,
wouldn't be the person you today if you hadn't gone through all those challenges. And your challenges are your greatest gifts. As I always say, your crap is your gold.
absolutely. Yep, and yes, it is very much so. And when I look back throughout my lives, interesting, through my life, everything I have done has brought me here and prepared me for what I want to do. So it's kind of beautiful when you stop feeling sorry for yourself and realize what has happened has benefited me, even if it has not been quite what I expected.
There's absolutely the saying that says we always feel that, hey, I made a wrong mistake, I took the wrong path, but no, you did not. You either learn or you earn. Both ways, you win. That's how I like to look at things. And it's
Mm.
actually when you're supposedly making the wrong decisions, making the mistakes, losing, so to speak, that's when where the greatest growth happens, you know? And that's where you can really, because in life and business, it's important to know what to do. But you know what's 10 times more important is to know what not to do, what not to say.
Yes,
What is an expert?
absolutely.
An expert will master all different ways to fail.
Yeah. Mm.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
It's a nice way to look at it, isn't it?
yeah.
When you make that effort to learn from those mistakes and realize they're not actually mistakes, they were learning opportunities that were just a little bit more painful and probably a little bit more profound.
Your blessings, yes. So beautiful. We're going to unpack all of that. So tell us, Hamish, for people who don't know you, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, all that in a moment. But who's Hamish as a person, as a human being, and as a man?
That is an interesting question. Who is Hamish? Well, Hamish is, wow, I've got 53 years of life, so there's quite a lot of Hamish. But in an essence,
53
he
Shades
is
of
somebody who
Hamish?
has
Are you saying 53 Shades
53
of
shades of Hamish. Absolutely, yeah.
All right.
No, he's someone who had a seemingly safe upbringing and went to university, got a degree, and decided not to use that. Picked a path, had the most incredible career, then another one. Um, Moved continents. I moved from the UK to South Africa when I got
Wow.
married. Had an amazing life down there being a photographer,
Oh, yes.
and things just went wrong. I was drinking, and
Mm,
and drink was part of my life. It was, hey, this is great. It's fun. It's empowering. It makes me a better talk better. It makes me all sorts of things. But it was chipping away at my capacity to be a human, chipping away at my capacity to be kind and things like that. And of course, it was damaging my health and my relationships. And it got to a stage I was drinking far too much every day, waking up hungover and repeat, promising myself I wouldn't drink that night. By lunchtime, I was hangover just about gone. I need a drink. And that was my life for 3 or 4 years, and it got very dark. Um, Throwing empty beer bottles out of the car while I was driving, things like that. No DUIs, very fortunate. No accidents. Somebody was looking after me.
Indeed.
Um, but I realized if I don't sort this out, I'm going to kill myself or somebody else. So I got my life down to two choices: live or die, and I decided I wanted to live. So I put myself into rehab. I'm now 6.5 years sober, and yeah, everything changed. Had to change my outlook. Had to look at why I was drinking. I'm going to be contentious. It's easy to give up alcohol or drugs or sex or food or this or that coping strategy. But until you actually start dealing with it, you are a dry drunk. You are always going to be fighting. And that's the next difficult bit after you've made that decision to give up. You've got to see why you're doing it. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, and that is what I help people look at. Why am I needing something to cope? Why am that coping strategy not working for me? So Hamish was an alcoholic. He's not anymore. I don't subscribe to that I'm always an alcoholic AA mentality because words are powerful.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm now living a fantastic life. As I said, not supplying a product. I'm supplying a service. I'm supplying conversation, communication, curiosity, and I'm helping people overcome unhealthy coping strategies. And it's yeah, it's fun. It's fun and it's interesting and it's empowering and it's encouraging people to get curious because I've had to be really curious why I wasn't working. So that is Hamish in 3 minutes, 17 seconds.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, we'll unpack that in a moment. What I like to start with usually is to ask my guest a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know them. Ready?
Hmm. Yep.
What makes you happy?
Being alive,
What makes you smile?
being in nature, the birds, the sounds, the smells. I mean, it's spring
Mm,
here in England at the moment and it is breathtakingly beautiful. So yeah, being in nature makes me smile.
beautiful. Now let's take the happiness factors a couple of notches higher. What makes your heart sing? What sets your soul on fire?
Aha moments.
When was the last aha
So
moment you had? When and what was the last aha moment you had?
the last one, this is a good one, this one. I'm in the process of buying a laptop from somebody in America and it's not coming and it's not coming. And I was ruminating, well, I can go to the police, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I walked past a branch and I touched it and it was a thorn and it stuck right in my finger. And it's like, ow! And then I realized I was ruminating. I was wasting my time and energy thinking about stuff that was irrelevant.
Yeah,
And it was such a huge pattern interrupt. It's just like, thank you. Thank you for stopping me going down a rabbit hole of feeling sorry for myself. And that was such an aha moment that I had fallen back into that pattern of ruminating, which is, I know is destructive and it's is an unhealthy trait of mine. But it was like, wow, bang. That was it. It was very funny. It made me laugh. Bit of blood, but it was worth the pain for that aha moment.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Um, what what makes you sad and angry?
Injustice. Yeah. Injustice, lack of tolerance.
Mm,
There's a long list, but those are the main ones.
yeah. What scares you?
Being like my father, because he is old, because he has given up, because he
Ah,
is not able to look after himself, because he's
mm,
showing me every day that I've got a choice to look after myself or not. And that scares me. Yeah.
that's powerful. Wow. Thank you.
Mm.
What is one thing that you used to value that you don't value anymore?
Do you know the first thing that popped into my head was time?
Mm,
And yeah, time. Why do I not value time? Um, Okay, that can get really abstract, can't it? Because time is, because I'm much more present, I think. No, I don't think. I know I am more present. So time, things will happen at the right time. Time is less important. Wow. What a
That's
question.
interesting. Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the spectrum, what is one thing that you did not value before that now you're valuing more and more?
Hamish, my health, my
Yes.
mental capacity, my needing to stop. Hamish, full stop. Hamish.
You know, one of the greatest realization I had, one of my greatest aha moment is it's okay to care about yourself, to put yourself first. That's not being selfish, it's being altruistic because you need to be the best version. You need literally to fill your cup before you can bless others. If your cup is empty, you have nothing to give. You're a liability. And once I understood that, yeah, some people will not be happy when you make those changes, but it's okay. It's about you.
Yep.
So love that. Love that. You love traveling, don't you?
Yes.
We can do an entire episode on traveling, and we may do one just because I would love to learn more about your time in South Africa. We can do an entire episode on that. But right
Mhm.
now, I want to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory line. Go back to when you're growing up as a young boy. You know, when we're kids, people around us, family, friends, relatives, teachers, neighbors, always ask us, say, Hamish, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was the answer to that as a young boy?
As a young boy, I can't remember. Um, Certainly by the time I got to school, I wanted to be an engineer because I wanted to
Mhm.
create. I wanted to come up with an idea, design it, and create it and bring it into the world. Um, and that is what it was. For years, it was to create something of value to sell to whatever. That hadn't got as far as that, but to bring an idea and create something real, something tangible.
Beautiful. Love that. What was your growing up? What was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
I hated it.
Why?
Um, should I name names? Yes. Mrs. Juggins once washed my mouth out with soap, for presumably saying something inappropriate at primary school. So I can't remember, but yeah, so things like that. And I also outgrew primary school, and I remember getting a straw and pea shooting bits of rice at my teacher. Not clever. I got into detention for it. Um, and then secondary school, I didn't have a peer group. I didn't have friends, so I didn't fit in with that group or that group or that group. So I didn't fit in. So yeah, I mean, academically it was fine, but relationships and things like that, I didn't enjoy it.
You know, when you mentioned that straw at the rice, that took me down, flashback for me. We didn't have straw back then, but we had, you know, those with pens, you just remove the ink and straw, and you just hit
Yeah.
with rice or with whatever
Hmm.
we could find and just have a go at each other in class, sometimes the teacher and all that.
Yeah.
That was fun. That was fun. Oh man, thank you for reminding me of that.
Mhm.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Science. I loved maths. I love, well,
Mm,
maths, not science, is it? The physics and chemistry and biology. So those, I mean,
mm.
I did physics and chemistry up to A level, uh, which led me on to university. So it was all around that. I was a scientist growing up. That was my thing. As a kid, I would pull apart things. You give me a
Oh,
an old. Do you remember those phones where you put your finger in and
yes.
you dialed it? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
showed. I would take those apart to see how they would work. I just took everything apart. I loved doing that. I love that curiosity of why did things work, and that still fascinates me. So
We
yeah, engine. Yeah,
we're the kind to open things up, like old radios, whatever, try to figure it out and put them back in.
yeah. They didn't always work when I put them back together again. There's always a screw or a valve or something. But yes, that is what I would do, and I loved doing that. There's just that.
Yeah.
It was a curiosity for how things worked, which is still part of my life now. How do I work? How do people work? Yeah.
And it's so sad that in school they really don't encourage that. They actually discourage that. They
Yeah.
want you to memorize, be just a robot or parrot. But that's
Yep.
not really education. It's actually let the mind, let the curiosity
Yeah.
lead you.
Absolutely. And kids, I mean, this is soapbox stuff, but kids are not allowed to get bored.
No.
Here's a phone, here's a computer, here's this, here's this.
It's an
Hell,
iPad.
you
Yeah,
must
go.
not
Yeah.
get bored.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah. No, it's such a shame because that's where you create games. That's where you create fun. That's where you go and look at a tree and pick the bits of bark off and there's a bug. And once you overcome that revulsion, you get curious by it, by being bored. Yeah, magical.
I remember growing up in the south of France. Back then, in the late 80s, there was no computers and no cell phones. There was a stream behind our place. We'd go, we would fish, we would hunt, we'd play with bicycle. One kid on a bicycle, and it was the hero. Everybody riding it, or just grab an old football and just play all day.
Mm,
Nowadays, kids don't even do that. They always glued to their phone and just they're not any active, no curious.
yeah,
It's
such
and
a
they're
shame.
so soft, yeah, as a result of that.
Mm.
Anyways, imagine that we were in the same class in grade 10 or 11. What kind of boy were you? Were you the shy one, the quiet one? Were you the nerd one? Were you the superstar, the chatterbox? What was Hamish back then?
He was fairly quiet.
Okay.
I was good though at getting people to do naughty things. Um, I would, it would be like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you? Getting people into trouble. I was manipulative. Full stop.
Um,
I was, and there was a cheeky, coercive side to that. Um, it wasn't to get people into trouble, but it was just not to get caught. Yeah.
those kids are the most intelligent ones. You know that.
I'll own that one as
Because
well. Yep.
because to be able to convince someone to do something, you have to have
Mhm.
more than a couple of marbles here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so that was me. I was the quiet, curious one who would get people to do things.
Were you the type to show up in class with a remote controller and just changing the channels when the teacher was showing a video?
No, I'm a little bit older than you, and certainly at
Ah,
my school, it was click. It was
okay.
put put a VHS in
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that. So yeah.
We still have the
So,
VHS too, but yeah, okay.
mm,
When you were in school, were you popular with the ladies?
no.
At what point did you start to have some swagger and be because if you're smart to many not maybe to get to lead people, that's gonna attract the girls.
Mm. I found that beer helped.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I was drinking at 15, 16,
Oh
going down the
wow.
pub at 16, 17. Yeah, we'd have village hall discos, and at 12, 13, I'd go and buy myself a shandy, served by everybody who knew us, but this was mid 1980s, and no one cared. So yeah, once I found alcohol, I was able to loosen my tongue, get confident, and dance. And then start chatting to the girls. But it was brutally hard. I had
What,
no
what's
self-confidence.
a shandy?
Lemonade and beer. So
Ah,
it's
okay.
yeah, so it's slightly sweeter. Got that from beer when you're growing up and you don't like it. I love it. I love it. Ugh. Put a bit of sugar and sweetness in to make it palatable. Yeah,
You mentioned dancing. Were you a good dancer?
I thought so. I thought so. But again, I remember as a teenager being told I dance funny, and that was just cruel. I'm not going to dance anymore because I got told you dance like an idiot or something. Um, so I was sensitive to being teased, and you dance funny, I don't dance. You draw badly, I don't draw. I'm not creative. I'm not an artist. So the sensitivity that I had, and however I chose to pick up criticism made it really difficult. So, a disdainful look from a girl, not interested, that's what I would withdraw. Alcohol allowed me to just wash that kind of stuff under the carpet for a bit.
Were you into sports growing up?
I was very mediocre. I was a very mediocre cricket player. I'm big. I was pretty good at rugby. Football, I was all right. Yeah, but I didn't take it very far. They were fun. I wasn't interested in the competitive side of it. It was just fun.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you're into football because I know I grew up in France, so boys in Europe mostly football, but I grew up in the
Mm,
south of France, so it's rugby country. I had the football, rugby.
hmm
But you were not into football at all?
I played it. I played it, but I
Okay.
wasn't really interested in taking it into club level or
Okay.
things like that. I mean, I was in the second 11 and third 11 at school, but it wasn't, we weren't brilliant, and I
As you
wasn't
like to
brilliant.
say in rugby and France, I was more interested in the third time. You have the first half, second half, and the third half. You know what I mean? The after the game, the drinking, the partying, the socializing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Mm.
All right, cool. What was your very first job? And do you remember how much you got paid the first time you worked?
Yes. I did a paper round for a
Mm.
long time in my village. So on the bike,
Yeah.
bag over my shoulder, and round the village. And my village was like this. And the trick was to go down as many hills, round the corners, sitting there, hands off the handlebars. And we got very good at it. Um, yeah, so that was my paper round. I got 2p a newspaper, apart from a Thursday when I got 3p because the newspaper was 100 pages and very heavy. Yeah, so that was my first job.
Amazing. Amazing. Now, moving forward, how would you describe your path from the moment you left school to now? Would you say you were, once you're into one lane, you were set for life, or smooth sailing, or was it more like turns and twists, like a roller coaster?
Put yourself on a roller coaster, okay? Put the blindfolds on,
Tie your
and
hands.
no, 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 quite the opposite. Holding on, but it's not just like a one-track roller coaster. It will go anywhere. So you're sitting there going like, where am I going? Those guys not watching this. I'm throwing myself to the left, to the right, backwards and forwards. That's what it was. It went everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
my father was on the rail track. He went down that route. One job, same job, all of his life.
Mm,
I've only had 4 or 5 different careers,
mm.
but they've all been very different. And yeah, they were. It was a roller coaster with a parachute attached and probably snorkel and mask as well. It went everywhere.
Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, there's a saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean what we tell ourselves in our head all day long. So, looking back at your life, Hamish, how did you change your story in the darkest time of your life so far? How did you change your story internally to change your reality externally?
That is such a good question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, well, I'm straight back to throwing empty beer bottles out of the car while I was driving and counting 1, 2, 3. If I heard a crash, I knew it hit the side of the road. If I heard a thud, I knew it got to the verge. And then realizing this is not okay.
Uh,
I have to change that. So then into rehab, and then I had to. I had I had 2 choices, live or die, and so that is where I had to change my story. Why am I drinking? What are the reasons? I went to rehab just to clean up a little bit and then carry on my life. And I got there, it's just like you cannot just carry on with your life. So I had to change that story. Um, and so yeah, so that's what it was. I had to look at why I was drinking, why I was not performing is not the right word, why I was frightened. So I had to look at everything in such a profound way, and then a gentle way, and then a non-judgmental way. Because if I was, oh, you idiot, you drank, you deserve to, whatever, that's not going to help. So it was, I had to take everything apart, right the way down to, as I said earlier, glass of beer, I can talk to girls. Hey, this is my way to talk to people, hiding that fear. And I had to go right back to that. Why am I not able to do certain things? So it was a huge story change. And they still crop up. I can't do that because of. It's like, no, that story's out of date. So it was fortunate, as we talked about being curious. It was back to that, being curious. Why is that story there? That belief that mum and dad instilled into me doesn't align. I'm allowed to change my story. I'm allowed to change my beliefs. Holy crap, I never thought about that. I thought I had to believe what I was told.
yeah.
Because do this, do this, do this. So I had to break apart everything.
Yeah. Don't question things and just do as we say. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you should. Parents should teach children to question everything, especially their own parental advice. Yeah.
Absolutely. At what point did you realize that, hey, my drinking is a problem? Was that a specific moment, or was it something that was crescendo that made you realize enough is enough?
There was a moment in late November 2018. Yeah. When I said to, when I realized that I had two choices. I think I had been pulled over. I had an English driver's license all my life in South Africa. For 14 years, I never got a South African license. And it was a get out of jail card. I'd hold that up and they'd go, off you go, which was what I had. Let's say that, you know. So I got pulled over blind drunk a couple of times and I just said, where you going? Here's my license. Off you go. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. So I asked somebody who I knew fairly well, a photographer friend of mine, and I said to him, I think I've got a drinking problem, and told him, and he said, yeah, sounds like it. He said, don't matter, I went to rehab 18 years ago. We'll go and find you one. So of all the people I asked somebody who was an ex-addict, had been to rehab, recommended one, and he helped me find one. And there was no judgment. There was no, you threw bottles out while you were driving, you were drunk driving, you did this. There was no judgment. Um, I dared to ask for help, and that's where it all changed when I did that.
Wow, amazing. So from the moment you realize that you have a problem until you actually started the problem, were you in the back of your mind trying to talk you out of it? Oh, this is the drink, just one sip, whatever. Come on, just one drink. I'm sure you must have had those temptations, not only from people around, but even from yourself, from that voice in your head. Just like in the cartoons, we have the angel here and the devil here. The devil's like, come on, just a drink. Come on, just one. It's okay. One drink is not gonna rock the boat, so to speak. But that's one first sip that bam.
That's it. Yeah. No, one side told this friend of mine I'd got a problem, and then found a rehab and booked in. I carried on drinking because I knew that was it. Um, and by the time I got there, I knew how, I won't swear, how hard it was to get sober. Um, it wasn't worth it. And oh, I'm going to moderate now. No, moderating is hard work. You're having to hold back. And I knew damn well one drink, that's it. I'm like, oh, feck it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and drink. I'm going to party. I'm going to go last man standing. So I had to find a way to not need it. And I don't need it. It doesn't serve me. It makes me. I break out in handcuffs. Is the quote I think somebody famous said, and it was like that. So I just don't. I might be able to. I'm not going to try. I might not be able to. I don't need it. Um, and to begin with, it was I don't need it. I really don't need it. And then it was I don't need it. I don't have to hang around with people who are blind drunk and slurring their words. But I'll go to the pub and have a alcohol-free beer quite happily. So, but it started off as a decision, a choice, an effort, and then it became effortless because I changed my approach to living. I looked at what I was struggling with. So it wasn't a problem solution. I created a new way of being. I created a new Hamish, a new life, left the old stories behind. Because you cannot get sober as a solution to a problem. You can't.
And once you made that step, no more alcohol, how did that affect your life in other areas, especially the discipline of sticking up to it and the self-confidence was building you? How did that trickle into other areas of your life in a positive way?
Um, I had to leave behind drinking partners and friends. Um, I had to I had to divorce my wife. It was more complicated than we can explain here,
Sure.
but that was part of the process, part of the beliefs. So I had to do that. So that took away a lot of a relationship that wasn't working for whatever reason, doesn't matter here. Um, I had to move back to the UK because of no longer being married and no visa. I've reconnected with my father. He's still not my friend, but he's my father. He's now a mentor and a guide because, as I said earlier, he is teaching me that if I don't look after myself, I'm going to be like him. So he never was a role model, and now he is. Um, there's clarity. I can, and I am getting better at dealing with shame. I've realized that beating myself up is a choice, and it's not a really healthy choice. Um, I am able to see when I'm resentful and stop it because I was so resentful drinking, so resentful at me and everybody else. I don't blame people for their stuff. I can respond better to triggers. So, I got triggered about something yesterday and I looked into it just like, well, I don't want to do that. My whole body is saying, no, I don't want to do it. So why should I try and do it? Yes, I get triggered. Yes, I swear. Yes, I do this. I'm human. I do mess up. But I am so more aware of who Hamish is and how Hamish is doing. And that is so beautiful, so delicious. I've got my curiosity back. My mojo keeps on buggering off and coming back and buggering off and coming back, but it's back at the moment, and that's fine. And I know when it disappears, I'm not in alignment. I'm not doing what is important for me. So I've had to be curious. I've had to be really gentle with myself, self-compassionate. And as you said right at the beginning, I have to look after Hamish first.
That's it.
Yeah. Mm.
And the fact that now everything happens for a reason and at the right time. You mentioned that the divorce led to you going back to the UK, reconnecting, rekindling with your father, building an actual connection now, and him playing the role of mentorship that he could have done earlier, but he didn't do it, at least from my understanding, is because at the time, one, you didn't need it and you're not ready for it, you're not looking for it. But now that you're looking, you're at a stage that now you're looking at your life objectively and you're ready to receive, most importantly, the teachings. Just like the saying, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now your father is fulfilling his, so to speak, his task, his mission
Mm.
to guide you in a
Yep.
way. Perhaps that was the soul contract that you guys agreed on before this lifetime. I don't know if you agree, if you believe in that, but I fully believe in that.
Mm. Yeah. You're
Wow.
gonna make me cry, Payman.
Oh,
Yeah, you're spot on. He wasn't present growing up. Mum and Dad chose to build us a beautiful home, and the cost of that was him working all the time. Whereas now, yeah, he is a guide and mentor, and they do crop up when you don't expect them. And that there's another story or two there. But yes,
yeah.
that's what he is now. He is doing that as I look after him, supplying the palliative care that he needs. Yeah.
And in the process, you're actually helping each other. He's mentoring you and you're taking care of them.
Yeah. Mm.
I can relate to that because in the last year and a half of my father's life before he passed away, I also reconnected with him coming back from Asia to Canada, him going through his cancer.
Mm.
I talked about it a lot before, so but it's a different story. I don't want to cry neither. But what I want to say is that everything happens for a reason at the right time, and the lessons you learn, you have to be open to receive the blessings, even in the most painful ways. Like for example, since he had a bladder cancer, it would take him 45 minutes just to relieve himself. And I was stupid me, always say, come on, hurry up. We don't have it doesn't take 45 minutes just to pee.
Mm.
Here I was completely impatient, but then I realized, hey, wait a second. This is a man that is very sick, potentially dying. I'm the eldest son. My father was a successful geologist, psychologist, always, spoiling me with gifts from his trip when I was a young boy. But the greatest gift he gave me was just before he passed, and that was he opened my heart, allowed me to become more understanding, more compassionate, more patient. I used to blow up for no reason. I had a real anger issue. I
Yep.
would do something, I
Mm.
would message you, wouldn't respond within 10 seconds. I'd say, what's going on? Why is it taking so long? That was me. But then I had to slow down, put yourself in the other person's shoes, be more empathic, more compassionate, more understanding, more patient. And that has been the greatest gift my father blessed me with. in the last
Mm,
few months of his life because that was the understanding, that was the agreement, that was the contract, so to speak.
mm. Yeah.
At least that's how I view it.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. And it's, we can start talking about death and the fact that it's such a thing that's afraid of in the Western culture, yet it is the gifts that come out of it are
The rite of
vast.
passage, next journey.
Mm, absolutely, yeah. But yeah, absolutely the same. I'm exactly as you. I have to be patient. There's no point in getting angry with him. You know,
Yes.
no one wins. I certainly don't, and he doesn't. He gets upset, and I get frustrated, and then yeah. So yeah, I've learned an awful lot about Hamish and making choices to be more gentle, more slow, as you said, all of those things, and they are gifts. And however, we have to be prepared to receive them, and they hurt. They do hurt. It's crap watching a parent die. Um,
Worst thing ever. Seeing
mm,
someone you love dying slowly, day by day in
yeah,
front of you,
yeah,
with you being completely impotent. That's the
mm,
word. I would not even wish that to my worst enemy.
no, no. Um, but as you said, when you choose to feel into it, when you choose to um, learn from it, that's
Mm.
when the magic happens. That's when there's healing for both parties. As I said, me and Dad now we get on well. We used to fight. We fought all our lives. So
Yeah.
part of the drinking experience and giving it all up and having to come back has been, as you said, reconnect with my father, and that's worth it. That's
Oh.
worth losing my dog behind me, that picture there, leaving him in
Uh,
South Africa, and everything else that happened. It's worth it because that's important to me. Yeah.
Absolutely. As I always, one of my aha moment was to understand that yes, life is a school. We come here to grow, become wiser and better, but that's only 5% of what we go here for. Come here for. The 95% is sharing our gifts. And what do I mean by gifts? Sure, we all go through a fair share of pain, trauma, abuse, tragedy, sickness, betrayal, heartbreak, struggles, and all that. Sure, it's very painful when you go through that, but then that becomes your story. Then your story becomes your gifts. Then your gifts and becomes your duty and responsibility to share them. Because again, at least from my humble understanding, is 95% of what we are here for is taking those gifts, sharing them with others around us, around the world. That's why I always say, your crap is your gold. Or in a more PC way, your mess is your message.
Yep. Yeah.
So now you're at a stage, Hamish, to embrace those gifts loud and proud and share them even loud and proud around you and around the world. The fact that you overcame addiction, all the lessons you learned, all the gifts you got through your mistakes, they were not mistakes, they were your teachings, your lessons. Now go share them
Mm. Yep.
unapologetically, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Speaking of that, beautiful segue. Tell us about your business. How are you making the world a better place around you and around the world? How are you sharing your gifts?
I have a podcast which I haven't done recently, but do you know somebody actually helped me do that podcast?
Who's that?
Somebody helped me
Do I know
somebody
him?
helped me set that up. Oh yeah, he lives in the Far East. He's got even less hair than me, and he's a flipping superstar.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, so I've got a
Bless his
podcast that
heart.
you bless his heart, absolutely. Yeah. So I've got a podcast that is helping is sharing people's stories of
Mm,
making sense of overcoming, of addiction, of realizing that what you are doing in your life is not aligned to what your purpose is. So I
mm,
do that, and I'm loving that. I'm loving having conversations with people who have, you know, one guy fell off, had a 10-meter fall and broke every bone in his body, and he had to change his lifestyle. He was no longer
mm,
sporty and athletic. One lady had a fall in her 20s, by the time her 40s, she was in a wheelchair because this injury slowly froze her whole body up. Several people have had DUIs. Drinking is a theme, popular theme. Um, so I use that as a vehicle to share inspiration. I'm currently setting up a program around not looking at why you drink, but rather why the coping strategies. For me, it was a coping strategy to loosen my tongue, to communicate with people, to do this, to numb the pain, to get rid of those feelings, to hide the fact that what I was doing wasn't congruent to my parental beliefs. So looking at why we are not in alignment, and then once you start doing what you feel is important to your values, you change and you leave those habits. You don't need to gamble. You don't need to be codependent. You don't need to drink, do drugs. You don't need to eat, not eat, because those are just ways of surviving. So it's basically survive to thrive. And it's looking at that to help people gain their own agency back, give themselves their own agency back,
Beautiful.
rather than be slaved to, let's call it childhood coping strategies, because that's where we created them.
Mhm.
So
What's it?
that's what I do. Yeah.
What's the title of your podcast?
The podcast is The Crucible, Conversations for the Curious.
Mm.
Um, Crucible because that's where stuff gets mixed and it's alchemy. So, in goes a bit of this and a bit of that, and out comes goodness, and all the stuff floats to the bottom or is burnt off. So it's all about alchemy, about distilling your life, about changes in the right direction for you, whatever they are. So it's that. And then curiosity, because you have to be curious. You have to be aware of what you're doing if you want to make changes in your life where you are going to feel better for it.
Love that. There's a recurring theme in our
Yeah.
beautiful conversation so far. There's one, you know what has been so far the word that is used the most in our conversation so far?
Curiosity?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Mm.
Unlike the saying curiosity killed the cat, in this case, curiosity opened up the world and opened up people's eyes. So
Mm.
love that. Love that. So what's your business?
Helping people. It's inner wisdom. It is
Mhm.
tapping into your inner wisdom. So the overall is the inner wisdom. The masterclass I'm creating currently is it's survive to thrive. And it's just, as I said, it's just about becoming aware of what you're doing unconsciously and then seeing how you can change it, um, to become who you want to be, because we all have values that are really important to us. I mentioned earlier that, um, certain things I really struggle with. I don't like judgment. I don't like resentment. They're really unhealthy,
Sure.
um, and things like that. And helping people to leave those behind because they are so destructive. Blaming other people for your own stuff or whatever. Accountability is so important. Freedom is really expensive. If you want to be
Oh,
free, you've got to be accountable. You've got to
absolutely.
look after yourself. You've got to have self-respect. You can't blame other people for stuff because it's all on you. Um,
Absolutely.
so it's helping people find that space and empowering people to do that, because that's where the magic is. That's when you start to feel yourself, really, really feel who you are and who you can be.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. Love that. And you're in the process of building your program, you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Cool.
So I'll share that with you afterwards, but it's all coming together very nicely, and it's aligned with the podcast. It's aligned with what's important to me and how I can help people, because I've done it. And I'm not particularly clever. I'm not particularly amazing. And anybody else can do it. You just have to start to believe in yourself, and it's tiny, little steps. On good days, on bad days, it's rest. It's fall down, dust your knees off. No shame. Shit happens. You get over it. It's simple. It is very simple. And it's not that difficult either. It is just beginning to believe that you can change.
It's all about taking imperfect, consistent action
Yes.
daily, rain or shine. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. You have to do it. Absolutely. Awesome. Now, let's wrap things up. And to finish, I'd like to ask you another series of rapid fire questions, this time on advices. Ready?
Hmm.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
Oh, blimey, over 50 years. Everyone is doing the best that they can.
Mm.
Yeah.
What's the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
I did it my way.
Mm.
I think yeah, that the song came in, and I think it is that grind. I will do it my way without any other recognition, whatever. Yeah, doing it my way, just blindly, grindingly, unconsciously, determinedly, without respect or thought.
Are you referring to the Frank Sinatra classic?
Oh, that went straight through my head like a bullet, which is why I had to spit that out and then embellish it to make sense. Yes. Yep.
Beautiful, beautiful. Imagine that you were blessed with a time machine and you can go back in time and sit face to face with an 18-year-old Hamish. What's the number one piece of advice you would give to him, knowing all that you know now?
Do you know, I run this through my head from time to time, and what would I do differently? What would I say to him? It's going to be a ride, mate. It's going to be hard. Don't give up. Believe in yourself. Yeah.
As they would say in Australia, she'll be all right.
Yes.
She'll be all right. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you have your podcast, for which I'm really happy for you. And imagine that today is very successful and you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself. What's the first question you want to ask yourself?
Why are you so awesome?
And what's the answer? I love that.
Yeah. Because I love myself.
Love that. Best answer ever. Love that. I'm so handsome because I love myself. These are code worthy. Thank you. That's awesome. If everybody were to have this mindset, oh, the world would be so much better place.
Wouldn't it? And yeah, it is hard to love yourself. I'm not making it saying it's easy. It's not easy because we blame ourselves, we shame ourselves, we get blamed, we get shamed, we've made mistakes, we feel guilty for it, and that's all in the past.
Mhm.
I can't change the past, which is why everyone is doing the best that they can is such an important quote because it's not letting you off the hook. It's allowing you to go, yeah, I did mess up. I did drive drunk. I'm not going to do it anymore. I did beat my partner. I'm not going to do it anymore. And if I do, I'm going to apologize and change my behavior. Um, you cannot hang on to guilt. You cannot hang on to shame because, well, you can. You absolutely can. But you're not going to do yourself a service. You're not going to thrive. You're just going to be stuck in that fear. So let it go. It's in the past. Learn
Imagine that.
from it.
Love that. Imagine that you're given the ultimate golden mic. You have the entire planet listening to you. You have 30 seconds. What's your message to the world?
Learn to love yourself
Hmm.
because with that capacity, you will be unstoppable. You will not be phased when you get trolled or disliked, and you will be such a beacon for other people to be inspired by your compassion and your love that they will just feel a little bit better from having listened to you and seen you or heard about you. They'll go, that guy's got something I want.
Love that. The last question I ask, and that's my favorite question to ask, and that is, what is the smallest thing you've done? The one thing that has had the greatest, deepest, most profound, positive impact in both your life and business. For example, for me, has been starting my podcast. What about you, Hamish?
Hmm. I'll have to email you that one in. Do you know, I'm not sure what has been the one thing. Yes, I am. Sobering up. Daring to say to somebody, I think I've got a problem. Because that was vulnerable and hard and scary. And then it was so flippin' easy. It was like, okay, done that. What's next? But doing that, saying I need help.
That's the key. We
Mm,
as humans, I don't know if you can relate to that. We're the first, at least me, I'm the first to go to help others, but I can't for the life of me get myself to ask for help. Or at least I used to.
yep.
And it's okay to ask for help because we're all human. Nobody is perfect.
Mm, yep.
Awesome. If someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
Through my website, hamishniven.com, you can find everything on there. That's the easiest way, or Hamish Niven on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, the other ones. Those are the ones that I use. Or and the podcast, The Crucible Conversations for the Curious. That's a great place to find me as well.
Beautiful. Love that. We'll put all that in the show notes. Listen, Hamish, absolutely beautiful. Love that conversation. Really happy to hear your story. Thank you for coming and sharing it, opening up your heart. I salute you. You're truly the heart. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. Your presence, your impact, your gifts. And always remember, you yourself, Hamish, you're a beautiful gift. Never forget that. And keep putting yourself first so that you can keep filling your cup first so you can bless others around you. Take care, my friend. God bless. Stay safe and talk to you very soon. Take care.
Thank you
God
very
bless.
much.
Very much. Cheers. Cheers.